Right, so to start with, we're going to make an even number of chains, and I've chosen for the width, it's going to be 14 stitches wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's going to make the width of the ear warmer. So now we want to chain another one for a turning chain. So these are going to be the chains that make the width of the ear warmer, but we need a turning chain as well. So because in this design, in this stitch pattern, should I say, you skip a stitch before you make 2 stitches into the next stitch, we need to skip the turning chain and also this next chain there, which means that we're going to work into the 3rd chain. So I'm going to go into the bottom loop of that chain, and I'm going to make a single crochet. And then in that same place where you can see the base of that stitch has just gone, so we've already worked into there, we're going to make a double crochet. So you might have seen this tutorial. I've already done the tutorial on this stitch pattern before, but I thought I'd just recap. Okay, so we're going to skip that next one and work into that one. So our stitch pattern is single and double in each stitch. So every other stitch, because we skip one in between. Okay, so you can see we've got 2 clusters so far. Let's carry on. Skip that next one. Go into the next one, single and double, and so on and so on. Skip that one, so skipping there, we're going into this one, single and double. And we've got a few more to do, so skipping that one, I'm going to work into that one. Single, double, skipping this one, we're nearly there, into that bottom one. So I always say working into chain is very hard to do, but at least it's just a short start to this ear warmer. Okay, and then we skip that one, and we can see that we've got one left to work into that's right next to that slip knot that we made at the beginning. So going into that bottom loop. I just like to go into the bottom loop and have 2 strands above, just because I find it's a bit more secure. It doesn't pull and become as loopy. To be honest, for this pattern, it probably wouldn't matter because we are going to cinch this area. Okay, so that's your last cluster for your first row. So always great when you get the first row out of the way. We don't have to work into chain anymore for the rest of the entire pattern. Okay, so if we count our clusters, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So that's the width I've chosen for this ear warmer. If you do want to make it wider, you can do. So you just need an even number of stitches plus 1 for your turning chain. So you can make it as wide as you like. Right, so for the next row, I'm going to turn the work and then chain 1. And then you're going to skip the double crochet and go into the single crochet. So it's usually quite a nice big gap, so you can see easily where you're going to put your hook. So single and a double, skip that next big one into that single crochet there, single, double, skip that one, and so on. Single, double, keep going. It's quite therapeutic stitch, this one, once it gets going. It's quite a nice flow to it, and there are quite a lot of rows to do, so it's quite a nice bit of crochet therapy, and you don't have to think too much about it once you've got used to it. Single, double. So we're left with our double, single, and then we've got that turn chain that we can ignore. And we're going to go into that last single and do another single and double. And you're just going to repeat that row now until you've got it as wide or as long as you want it for now. But obviously the width of your head that determines how big you want it. So what I suggest is you just keep going with the rows. Every now and then wrap it around your head, end to end, until you're happy with the fit of it. It feels right, it's not too tight, it's not too loose, and then you'll be ready to join your ends, which is the next thing I'll show you. So a rough guide for number of rows for a size small or small medium is 50 rows. So I would keep going until you've got at least 40 rows before you try it around your head, and then you can decide how many more you need, and then you'll just fasten off as normal. And then I'm going to show you how to make the seam and the cinch, and then it's done. It really is that quick and easy, and it's going to look great. It's a lovely textured stitch. Right, so I've made mine 50 rows long, so wrapped it around my head and just pulled it to see if I like the fit, and it was nice. Okay, so now we're going to slip stitch the two ends together to make the seam and turn it into a head warmer, into a tube. Okay, so just line up the ends, and then we're going to slip stitch the whole thing together. So I've just finished that row. I'm just going to chain one and go into the first chain on the opposite side. So it might just be a little bit tight getting into that loop, and then slip stitch through under the V of the last row of stitches we did, and then under the loop of the chain, foundation chain. So you'll remember, because we picked up 2 loops of the foundation chain on the first row of stitches, we now just got 1 loop on the other side of the chain to pick up when we do this seam. So under the 2 loops, under the 1 loop. I nearly missed one there, so just got to be careful we don't miss little ones that have gone a little bit tight because of the previous stitches. Otherwise it won't match up. So yeah, can you see how the skipped chain is a lot smaller than the one we've worked into? So just don't be fooled by that, try not to miss them. And you can see what I mean about the foundation chain having sort of shortened that end. Even though we've got the same amount of stitches, you can see that this side is just pulling up slightly, which can be a bit of a annoying thing about a foundation chain. And those ones that have been a bit pulled up are a little bit tight to get your hook into. But as I say, none of this matters because we are going to tighten up that stitch, that seam, make it into a cinched seam. Have I missed one there? Yes, I have. It's very easy to miss, as you'll see. Okay, so we're nearly there. Almost got right to the other end of the chain. That's our last one there. into that very end one with a knot. Okay, right, so we've joined the two ends together now. So we made a seam, and obviously you want that seam to be on the inside. So what I'm going to do now is sew a little running thread down the middle so we can cinch it up. Right, so I haven't fastened off there yet. I'd cut a long tail to use for sewing. So now I'm going to just finish off that last stitch, and because I've cut the yarn I can pull it all the way through and just tighten it up. This tail here we can get rid of afterwards, we can sew that in. Okay. So taking our long tail and a large eye needle. And then I'm going to do a running stitch. So I usually do them right down the middle of that row of stitches that we did last, just to keep it neat. So you can take quite a big stitch length. The smaller the stitch length, the less of the cinch you'll get. So you do want some quite big stitch lengths there. If it doesn't look right, you can always take it out again and maybe do smaller ones or bigger ones, depending how it looked. Right, so you can see already that's cinching up. So that's a really simple, easy way to make a cinch. There's lots of much more complicated ways to make cinched hairbands and wrapped round hairbands. I do like the twisted ones, they're really nice, but they're a little bit more time consuming and a bit more complicated for beginners. So this is a really good beginner pattern and quick and easy. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just pull it really tight, and we know that this is the inside because that's the seam that we worked down. On the other side it'll be nice and neat. Okay, and then we're just going to put the needle back through those layers, almost creating another running stitch really. Put it in and then just over sew a few times. We'll get rid of that after. The other tail, and keep over sewing just in that same area until you feel it's nice and secure. I'm going to go one more time, and then I'll thread up that little tail on the other side and do the same thing, just over sew a few times to get it secure. Right, so I'll just trim off that one, and then if I turn it through, you'll be able to see I've got a nice cinched ear warmer. Really straightforward pattern. And because it's stretchy yarn, it's going to fit quite a few different sizes, so you wouldn't need to make lots and lots of different sizes. Sometimes for adults even just 2 sizes is enough, because you've got that give to allow it to fit lots of different sizes. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed that tutorial, and lots of luck making them and selling them if you're going to sell them. They also make really good gifts.